put them both in the seat.
People don't think enough about how everything starts. Maybe they just assume that the way it is the way it always was. But that's not true. On October 18th, 1977, Reggie Jackson turned in arguably the greatest performance anyone has ever seen in a World Series game.
Am I really seeing this?
Dude, it blew my mind.
What the man did that night guaranteed he'd be remembered forever. But to understand why it was all so perfect, you've got to understand that everywhere he went before it, everything he did shook the ground too.
I think initially when you meet him, it's just superstar, athlete, larger than life.
Superstar. You hadn't heard it much before then.
Well, Reggie was the Frank Sinatra of his time. You know, the whole my way.
Everybody thought the guy was a cocky SOB, and he was.
I came to win and to be the best.
He was cocky, he was arrogant, he was confident.
He throws that bat down and admires it.
But those are all the things that he needed in order to be successful, and it worked for him.
That's Mr. October.
What were the major thoughts that went through your head?
The magnitude of me.
You can thrive in New York, or New York can eat you up, especially if you come into a situation like Reggie.
I'm the straw that stirs the drink. Thurman Munson thinks he can stir it, but he can only stir it back.
There were days when he just didn't want to go to the ballpark.
Maybe Reggie Jackson would be better off if he wasn't here.
So how did it get to this?
Oh, what a beam on his face. How can you blame him? He's answered the whole world.
If you really want to understand how it all came to be and why October and Reggie Jackson were made for each other,
How this man has responded to pressure.
you have to know where he came from and what happened along the path from there to here. It all started back in 1968. The United States of America feels like it's in the midst of a revolution. The status quo is under assault, and discontent, protests, and change are the order of the day. One of the epicenters of the revolution is in Northern California, the Bay Area. And wouldn't you know it, that year, the city of Oakland gets a baseball club, the Athletics, who come from Kansas City. They arrive as one of the worst teams in the league. But there's hope, too, thanks to a 21-year-old outfielder by the name of Reginald Martinez Jackson. Everyone calls him Reggie, and it seems like he does just two things: hit home runs and strike out. Reggie doesn't look like other sluggers either. Not just the way he swings, but the way he throws his bat away every time he hits the ball towards the bay.
There's a long drive. Jackson hit it all. And it is gone.
Jackson is homer to the opposite field. He can hit some of the longest shots in baseball.
I had more talent than most players, 99% of them.
When I first came today, he's a star, man. And as a rookie player, I just kind of sat back in awe of him and watched him do his thing.
In '69, the A's second season in Oakland, Reggie took on giants of the past, too.
He was one of the guys they talked about was going to break Babe Ruth's record. He had all the home runs in April.
I had 37 at the break, and I had a pretty good August as well. I thought I would easily hit 50 home runs.
Every time you looked around, it was something written, said, taped, something about Reggie Jackson challenging Ruth's record. Any town we went into, that would be a reporter or a writer or a radio guy waiting for him in the hotel lobby. Everybody wanted their exclusive, and he always did that.
I was about 23 years old. They were constantly talking about Babe Ruth and Roger Maris, etc. And then in September, I wound up with hives and all this kind of stuff.
I remember him breaking out in hives from the tension and the pressure of trying to break the record. After the pressure got to him, it just he fizzled out.
If I would have approached Roger Maris's record and been about 30 to 33 years of age, I'd have broke the record because would have known how to deal with all the pressure with the media, and known how to. But I was a little too young to know how to cope.
Reggie ended up with 47 homers that year and a hard-earned lesson on how to deal with trying to hit while the entire world was watching. 2 years later, at the All-Star game in Detroit, he got a chance to reintroduce himself and what he was capable of.
I was selected for the All-Star game. I dressed next to Sal Bando, our captain.
After our last ball game before the All-Star break, I said to Reggie, whatever you do, don't embarrass us and strike out.
He got into the game in the bottom of the third.
I went to pinch hit, and Doc Ellis is pitching, and I looked around and I said, man, they need to save me for the big time, for the 8th and 9th. They're getting me out of the way early.
Went for the high, fast one and fouls it back, and Ellis quickly has him 2 strikes.
It's no balls and 2 strikes. And I got out of the batter's box, and Sal Bando was in my ear, and I said, man, let me not strike out.
There's a long drive. That one is going way up. It is off the roof. That hit the transformer up there.
And I hit the ball over the roof, into the light tower, into the transformer, and it, one of the longest home runs ever hit.
That ball would have went out of Yellowstone Park. He hit that ball. That hit that transformer in right field. I've never seen a ball hit like that before.
He throws that bat down and admires it, which you can't blame him, because when he hits them, they're tape measure job.
There are 17 players from that All-Star game that have gone to the Hall of Fame. And he was the guy that they ended up leaving town talking about.
As Reggie Jackson emerged as one of the game's best power hitters in the early 1970s, his fame grew too. Reggie was the biggest star on what was becoming one of the best teams the game had ever seen.
We were a great, solid ball team that played together and won together. But we were all stars. I think Sal Bando was a star. I think Joe Ruder was a star. I think Catfish Hunter was a star. I think Raleigh Fingers was a star. But Reggie was Jupiter, if you will, of stars. He was out there. He was way out there. He was light years ahead of us.
Reggie was one of them that hit a home run. He had a little style to him. And he always ran around the bases with a little lean, and he was joyful for him. He let his actions speak for what he was doing out there.
And with that attitude, Reggie was turning into a new kind of baseball superstar who would be heard, not just seen.
I'm not beat yet. I'm not going to lose. You're going to have to beat me.
He always had something to say.
Hell, you're trying to make it sound like, they're God and we're nothing.
He would hold a press conference after every game. There'd be 20 guys around his locker. You go like, what did he do today? He could go 0 for 4 and still steal the headline.
Some people crave the limelight and respond to it. Reggie's the type of guy that likes to be heard. He's really a lightning rod, and yet at the same time, he takes pressure off you as a player because he's taking it all upon himself.
Reggie, what percent are you? I don't really know, Ron. I feel 85 or so.
My favorite story of Reggie is I made an error really to lose the ball game, and so I'm expecting to see headlines, Bando's error loses game. And what I didn't realize is Reggie had a meeting with the media and he blasted the coaches. And that was the headline the next day, and very at bottom of the article is Bando's error leads to win. So I've always appreciated and thanked Reggie for that, for taking the heat for me.
But don't forget about what else made the boldness, the confidence, and the arrogance so unique. It was all coming from an African-American ball player, which in the early 70s was hardly common.
Look when Reggie was being formed as an adult, the 60s and 70s. He's another child of Ali. I don't think that Reggie always drew attention to himself in the same appealing and charming way that Ali did. but he found out that doing that wasn't against the law.
You still had Willie Mays and Hank Aaron and Frank Robinson, all this guy, and they were great. They were great athletes, and they were superstars too. But this was the guy that first started talking. You know, he would say the stuff that could be a little edgy, and that's okay.
Story of the game tonight, I think Jerry Koosman pitched a good ball game. When we had scoring opportunities, you know, so.
I was the next generation after Aaron and Mays, Frank Robinson, guys who had, you know, tremendous pride. And I had many people say to me, gosh, you know, those guys are angry. I said, no. They're not angry. They're frustrated. It was difficult at the time. There were very, very few African-American reporters or writers or people in the media at all that you could relate to. I tried to present myself as a man that was proud and a man with dignity and a man that was an African-American with Latin blood. And I wanted to be heard equally just like anyone else.
There wasn't anyone exactly like Reggie, but across the country, there was another black superstar shaking up the world with his own sense of style.
Our style's somewhat flamboyant, considering the conservative era we were in and the sports, the conservatism associated with the sports. I think by winning and always playing on a winning team, then it's a lot more palatable, a lot more acceptable, but you got to get the W's.
In Oakland, California, where Reggie was transforming the idea of what a baseball superstar could be, the W's just kept coming.
The Oakland A's have won their second consecutive World Series championship. The A's win their third consecutive World Series.
You know, you look back and you recognize that you were building character and you wouldn't change anything for that because of that you developed from it.
Here comes the World Championship trophy!
When I look back, you know, we were one of the great dynasties. We won 5 divisions, 3 World Series in a row. We were a special breed, and when you look back at it, you have a great appreciation for it, and you're thankful that you were part of it.
How about Reggie Jackson?
But after the 1975 season, the A's ran into financial problems, which meant they couldn't afford their best players. Reggie was traded to Baltimore, where he'd spend 1 season with the Orioles. After that came something new, and almost too perfect. At the age of 30, Reggie Jackson would be a free agent. And go figure, he had a plan.
I have some prerequisites that I would like to have met. The most important one is a 5-year contract. There are going to be 7 or 8 teams that are not going to have any chance to sign me anyway. So I'm going to wind up talking to probably teams on the East Coast or the teams that at least can afford to sign me. I pretty much feel as though I'll be able to pick my spot where I want to play.
Has finally made up his mind. He's found a home.
When Reggie Jackson became a free agent after the 1976 season, he had a chance to sign a deal with whatever team in baseball he wanted. But there was only one club, one city, one stage that stood atop all the others. In a setting synonymous with big opportunities, big moments, and big stars.
Madison Square Garden was considered the Mecca, and Yankee Stadium was like, I don't know, the Taj Mahal of baseball.
But it wasn't that simple. Because Reggie wasn't cut in the mold of the long line of Yankee heroes, he was a new kind of superstar who wasn't about to change his ways to fit into any pinstripes. Then again, maybe the team's new owner was the perfect match.
Both wire services agree that you and Reggie Jackson are about to sign a contract.
Let me just say this. I know you wouldn't be out here on a night like tonight if you didn't feel there was something to it.
George said, I want Reggie Jackson.
He was a huge star.
Reggie, look out, big crowd. There we go.
I mean, everybody knew Reggie Jackson.
And George knew what?
Reggie Jackson, $3 million. Sounds more like a new bond issue than a baseball salary.
Big one, there we go.
I was offered more money to go to the Dodgers and more money to go to Montreal.
And George said, Montreal? Are you crazy? It's in Canada, for God's sakes. There's only one place for you, New York.
Just one pitch.
It was absolute culture shock. It was young, vibrant, full of. I thought I was invulnerable at the time, you know.
You can thrive in New York, or New York can eat you up, especially if you come into a situation like Reggie.
The Yankees were a great team already, being led by Thurman Munson, Sparky Lyle, and
we had gone to the World Series a year before in Cincinnati. The Big Red Machine swept us. All of a sudden, here comes somebody from the outside that wants to be the big guy, and he rubbed people the wrong way. There's no question about it.
From the very beginning, Billy Martin wanted no part of Reggie Jackson. And the Yankee players all felt like, what is this? You know, are we chopped liver?
Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson.
You're looking at Reggie Jackson?
Reggie was a me guy, a kind of player that was going to hog the spotlight.
The money was big. Nobody else makes $3 million.
It turned out that it was more money than Thurman was making, and Thurman was very upset about it.
So that's how 1977 started. Reggie was performing on the field, but also left out in the cold by his new teammates. To some, maybe that wouldn't matter. To Reggie, it did.
I have a great need to be liked and be appreciated. You know, my strengths and my character are very, very strong, but my needs are just as great.
For all of Reggie's bravado, there's a lot of insecurity there.
By mid-June, the bad was outweighing the good. The Yankees might have been stacked with talent, but they were cracking and sinking in the standings behind the Red Sox.
The year was really a mess, really, for the first entire half for me. I know that the attention of the media was overwhelming at times.
We're in the center of the world in New York, you know, all the news media is here, and we've done terrible, and it's a story.
I struggled with the media, I struggled with players, I struggled with cliques.
It was almost like a bad dream or like a nightmare.
We'd be sitting out on his terrace, talking in the afternoon. There were days when he just didn't want to go to the ballpark.
I don't know, you know, in all fairness, whether I can fit in here.
And then this interview with Robert Ward, all these quotes came out, and it was an explosion.
Munson, he's being so damned insecure about the whole thing. I've overheard him talking about me. And when anybody knocks me, he'll laugh real loud so I can hear it.
It was the big feature in the June issue of Sport magazine. Jackson's uncensored, unfiltered take on life as a Yankee.
First, he was like, I don't know if I want to talk or not. I said, fine, I'll go talk to the other guys. So I went around and I talked to Sparky Lyle first. I said, you excited about having Reggie Jackson on the team? He said, we don't need him. Chris Chambliss, he turned his back to Reggie. Thurman Munson said, good player. Is that enough? He didn't want to talk about it at all. So when I went back to see Reggie, I said, wow, that was pretty interesting. He said, what did they say? I said, well, let's go somewhere and talk. I don't want to talk here.
I was trying to be respectful of Thurman Munson, but it wound up as a mess. It wound up as it looked like a plate of spaghetti. It was all over the place.
You know, he says, this team, it all flows from me. I got to keep it all going. Maybe I should say me and Munson, but he really doesn't enter into it. He said, Munson, and he has to understand, I'm the guy that puts the meat in the seats, and I'm the straw that stirs the drink. Thurman Munson thinks he can stir it, but he can only stir it bad. And I thought, wow, what a line.
Right after the article came out, Reggie was trying to apologize to Thurman. He said I was misquoted, and at one point Thurman looked at him. He says, misquoted? Misquoted for 4 damn pages?
I had one player that you know, who kind of wrote a 5-page article about me and ripped me pretty good.
I don't think some players ever got over it.
Thurman was very popular in that clubhouse. He alienated a lot of people.
It was bad. It was bad. I remember sitting with him in front of his locker one day, and he was talking about all the players in this drama. And he pointed towards the manager's office and said, but he's psychotic.
Billy Martin and Reggie Jackson were never gonna get along.
These were two ginormous egos.
But the worst came one Saturday at Fenway Park.
There was a fly ball hit to right field, and Reggie was slow to get after it. Billy thought he was loafing. Billy sent Paul Blair out in the middle of the inning to replace him.
Reggie didn't know what he was doing. Reggie gives him one of those, and Paul Blair said, "Skip wants you in there."
Sparky Lyle, who hated Reggie, was on the mound. And Sparky, you could hear it in the dugout. But Sparky says, "Oh boy, I can't wait to see this."
Jackson hit the top step of the dugout and went flying right at Billy Martin. He showed Jackson up.
Fran Healy told me, he said, you need to get dressed, showered, and go home. You need to get dressed, showered, and go home. He said, if something happens and you're in the right, you're going to be in the wrong.
Now the Yankee dugout, which is a place of turmoil.
I changed into my clothes, didn't shower, and walked back to the hotel, got out of there, and that's some of the best advice I've ever gotten.
Well, we'll hear more about that.
About Billy, anything you can provide on the relationship?
I really don't think we had one. I probably just wouldn't say very much about it.
Reggie Jackson and the Yankees were a mess. They'd fall to third place by mid-August. There was no straw, no drink, no nothing. Just a star staring his breaking point straight in the eye.
It's uncomfortable. It's miserable. I think that being black has something to do with it. I don't act very subservient in a world that is not quite used to a black man having his own way. Maybe Reggie Jackson would be better off if it wasn't him, and the Yankees too.
No question about it. I think everybody's really waiting for Reggie to get going. I'm waiting for Reggie to get going. Billy Martin, the manager, has to be. Here a guy comes in with all this so-called reputation and the big salary and everything else that goes along with the supposed Reggie Jackson. Well, Reggie, where the hell you been?
August of 1977. The drama and the tension surrounding Reggie Jackson and the Yankees is still blazing. The team is in third place, and it seems like their superstar is weighing them down more than stirring any drinks. They're running out of chances to salvage the season, which is why the Yankee captain decided to step up, put aside his differences with Reggie, and try to get Billy Martin to make a change.
For whatever reason it was, I don't know what, but Billy did not want to hit me clean up.
Reggie was used to being the fourth guy. That's the power slot, and that's where he wanted to hit. Billy was hitting him fifth. And finally, Thurman suggested, we should talk to Mr. Steinbrenner. And we did.
The Yankees were in Milwaukee, and Lou and Thurman went up to George's suite, and they were telling him, you've got to talk to Billy. You've got to get him to let this guy hit cleanup. And as they were talking, there was a knock on the door.
Mr. Steinbrenner said, who's there? And he said, it's the skipper, Martin. George had the chalkboard up there and writing some names down, and the lineups had Reggie in the fourth spot.
George told Thurman and Lou, go in the bathroom, I'll handle this. He lets Billy in. Billy immediately knows that there's somebody there. And of course, Thurman and Lou come out of George's bathroom.
I was a little scared when Billy came in and said, what the hell are you two guys doing in there? And then he saw those lineups up there, and he wasn't very happy at all. He really wasn't.
George is trying to explain to Billy, look, nobody's trying to undermine you here, but we really need you to think about this. Just think about this, Billy.
I wound up hitting in the fourth slot, and that seemed to benefit me quite a bit.
There it is, an upper deck blast. Reggie's getting into one of those grooves.
From that point on, with Reggie in the cleanup spot, happy, content, and just focused on doing his thing, the team took off and the whole season turned around.
Batting cleanup might seem like a small thing, but to a proud man like Reggie, it wasn't. He drove in more runs than anyone else in the American League the rest of the season to finish up with 32 homers and 110 RBIs overall. And the Yankees, they caught fire with him.
It made a big difference in the way Reggie performed and the way the team played. We really caught fire and vaulted in the first place and stayed there the rest of the year.
But when the playoffs started, Reggie got off to a rough start. 1 for 14. And that gave Billy Martin a chance to stick it to him one more time in the 5th and final game against the Royals.
I remember Fran Healy being in my ear, "Reggie, you're not gonna play today." And I kind of looked at him like he was crazy. And he said, "Whatever you do, the media's gonna be all over you. Just make sure you're watching the game, don't snarl, don't smirk, be careful of what your actions are." So I sat on the end of the bench with a bat.
Reggie Jackson not playing today, but he is available to pinch hit.
So Reggie waited and waited until opportunity knocked in the 8th inning.
It's first and third, 1 out, and Reggie Jackson is the pinch hitter.
And I walked out of the end of the dugout, just right to home plate. I don't think I took a warm-up swing or anything. I just stood at home plate. I was so bothered.
Reggie Jackson, his 25th championship series game, which is a record. He has never missed a big game, but he came close to missing this one, but he's in there now. 3-1, Kansas City leading, top of the 8th, 1 out. Deep to center field, Otis comes in, it drops in front of him. Everybody is safe if it's a 3-2 ball game.
The hit was the big part of the comeback that won the game and sent the Yankees to the World Series against the Dodgers. And in the series, suddenly Reggie was hot again, hitting homers in Game 4 and 5.
How do you like the way Reggie Jackson has come back? "I'll prove myself where it counts," he says, in the batter's box.
Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, New York City, the site for game number 6 of the 1977 World Series.
The Yankees were up 3-2, 1 win away from their first title in 15 years. It was the biggest game of the season with the whole world watching. It was the perfect time for Reggie Jackson to be everything he said he was.
You're talking about New York City. You're talking about Yankee Stadium. That's where the word superstar was invented. I mean, how can you get a bigger stage to dance on?
Yankee Stadium is the site for game number 6 of the 1977 World Series.
We're glad we're here. We're happy to be here. We know that the fans want to win in New York. We know the organization wants to win. Doesn't even need to be said how much we want to win.
New York was ready for this. The Bronx was ready for this. And Reggie was ready to deliver for them.
I had an incredible batting practice. The stadium was full. The media was jammed 4 or 5 deep around the batting cage. I probably had 50 swings, and I probably hit 35 balls in a 50-foot radius in right center. And when I got done batting practice, I got a standing ovation.
It was absolutely electric. And I remember Dick Young, the Daily News, went up to him right at the batting cage, and he said, "Boy, you're really on tonight, Reggie."
And I remember saying, "I sure hope I don't leave it right here."
After walking his first time up, Reggie Jackson returned to the plate in the 4th, with the Yankees behind 3-2. They were 1 win away from a World Series title with the whole world watching. Just the situation that Reggie had come to New York for. And the next 3 pitches he'd see would define his legend forever.
Before the game, I had checked with the leader of our scouting staff, Gene Michael. I called up to the booth and I said, "Hey, Stick, what do you got?" And they said, "They're gonna pitch you in. They think they can get you out in." I liked the ball away. I made the Hall of Fame and could not hit the ball in. And so I got off home plate about 4 inches and looked for the ball in.
Long drive right field, it is goodbye. A big, big World Series for Reggie Jackson as he comes up with his 3rd home run of the series. Quickly, the Yankees go ahead.
Next time up, they brought in Sosa from the bullpen.
5-3 New York. Bottom of the 5th inning.
First pitch he threw was a fastball in. He didn't get it in far enough. It got out before I got out of the batter's box.
Yankees go ahead 7-3.
This guy who's been telling pretty steadfastly every day that he took a breath, how important and how good and how talented he was.
A few moments ago, as Reggie Jackson went to his defensive position in right field, you might call it aggrandizement of an athlete.
This guy is doing what he's saying.
Now they say the cream comes to the top, and George Steinbrenner paid that man $3 million to get 2 home runs in this game. It looks like that investment is paying off.
Now listen to the ovation for Reggie Jackson as he comes up to the plate.
They brought in Charlie Huff, and I'd had probably 7 or 8 home runs off knuckleballers, and I went like, man, they're bringing this guy in? I know I'm gonna have some good swings.
Reggie Jackson has seen 2 pitches in the strike zone tonight, 2, and he's hit them both in the seam.
First ball he threw was just like strawberry shortcake room service.
Goodbye.
Oh, what a blow! What a way to top it off!
Oh my God, it was extraordinary. It is one of the most theatrical things I've ever seen covering sports. Whatever you say about Reggie Jackson, people will always love him or hate him, but the son of a bitch won the game.
Forget about who the most valuable player is in the World Series. How this man has responded to pressure.
It doesn't get any bigger in our sport than playing in the World Series, and Reggie just took it over.
Oh, what a beam on his face. How can you blame him? He's answered the whole world.
Reggie was the guy George had brought in to do just this.
After all the furor, after all the hassling, it came down to this.
That was the night Reggie Jackson became Mr. October. He wound up being the guy that, in fact, stirred the drink and led them to a world championship.
The ultimate fulfillment for a controversial, deeply complex and sensitive man named Reggie Jackson.
Is this the best day of your life?
I had some good ones. This one tastes pretty sweet.
Voila! Appears the Rolls Royce of '77 in the '77 World Series. Great memories.
It's a great feeling. A lot of people talk about guys like DiMaggio and Mays and Aaron and Clemente, and I can now say that I had one day that was like those guys.
The night I hit the 3 homers, I went over to his place the next day. Michael Shudroff, he said, "Reggie, what an unbelievable night you had last night. I got a car in for you. I just got it. They just took it off of the truck. You gotta own this thing. It's all for you. I'm not gonna sell the car to anybody else. Come on into the showroom here." So I go in and I take a look, and it's this silver over blue, Yankee colors, 1977 Corniche convertible, Rolls Royce. Forget about it. Get your guy on the phone and get the check here. They wire the money. I drive it home that night. The next morning, I'm going to California. And I drove this car to California in 48 hours, never stopped. I got stopped in Ohio doing about 90. And the police officer said, I heard you were on the highway. I'm not gonna give you a ticket. I just wanna meet you. And the next time I got stopped was in Missouri. I was doing about 100. Well, Mr. Jackson, where are you going in such a hurry? I said, well, I'm just trying to get home to California. He said, man, you sure did have a nice World Series. And I happen to be a Yankee fan. I'm not gonna give you a ticket, but I'd sure like to shake your hand and let you go on your way. Just a happy time. I couldn't wait to get home and share the victory with my friends.
The next season, Reggie Jackson returned to New York to try to do it all over again. And in October 1978, sure enough, he led the Yankees to a second straight World Series title over the Dodgers.
Reggie, this is what, 5 World Championships for you now?
Yes, Tony, this is the 5th one.
All right. Do you enjoy this one or savor it more than the others?
Yes, I do. Every time you win a World Series, it's one of the greatest things in the world.
Still, after those 2 titles, the Yanks didn't make the series the next 2 years. And as 1981, the last year of Reggie's contract approached, George Steinbrenner decided he needed to bring in a new star alongside him, making a clear statement about the club's future.
In 1981, when George signed Winfield, he made no bones about the fact that he viewed Winfield as his successor to Reggie.
The Winfield thing was, it was like Steinbrenner ditched him for a trophy wife. I mean, that's really what had happened there.
Have a year.
All the good things that Reggie had done here, and he wasn't appreciated. He had felt jilted by George, and it bothered him mentally all year.
Through the controversy, Jackson and Winfield teamed up to lead the Yanks to the World Series. Reggie went deep in Game 4, his 10th and final homer all time in the series. But New York lost in 6 games. Reggie was a free agent again, and that ended up being the sad ending to a marriage that had transformed a superstar and a franchise.
I don't believe they even had a contract negotiation with him. I think he just let Reggie go.
I wish I could have finished my career in New York, but it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't my choice that I left. I went to the Angels and certainly enjoyed myself there.
I know I can play, but I tell you what, when I come back, you better look out.
He came back as an Angel 3 weeks into the '82 season. It might have been April, not October, but that didn't stop Reggie from getting a little revenge at Yankee Stadium.
As long as I had a bat in my hand, I always thought I could get the last say.
And Reggie hits one out. First pitch, upper deck, right field.
I mean, come on. He comes back and hits a home run, and it's ridiculous.
You think Yankee fans aren't giving Jackson some kind of welcome, a standing ovation? You think Reggie's still had a Yankee uniform?
I do remember the game clearly. There certainly was some redemption in hitting that home run that night.
Reggie led the league in home runs in 1982. He played 5 years in all with the Angels and then one more back in Oakland before retiring in 1987. With 563 career home runs, 5 years later, the Hall of Fame came calling.
Being involved in the Hall of Fame with Mantle, Ford, Gehrig, DiMaggio, Ruth is good for Reggie Jackson. And so I'll go in as a Yankee.
Reggie's decision says something about how he viewed himself and the legacy of Mr. October.
We were thrilled that he decided to go into the Cooperstown as a Yankee. Big deal because he played a lot of years for Finley and the A's, won 3 World Championships with them.
But the city was made for him. The stage was made for him. The platform, being a Yankee. He knew what his job was. He was hired to hit home runs and win the World Series. And in that way, it was mission accomplished.
Regardless of the fact that he only played 5 years here, I think most people remember Reggie as being a Yankee, not only just Yankee fans, but baseball fans in general.
These days, Reggie's a special advisor to the Yankees. He also runs the Mr. October Foundation, which focuses on educating kids in science, technology, engineering, and math. And he collects cars. But this time of year, his time of year, his shadow still towers over everyone because of what he did and how he did it.
October is special. When October comes, I feel like good things are going to happen to me, so I get a certain energy, I get a certain excitement.
He told me that's still his month.
That's Mr. October.
In the end, always remember Mr. October, the straw that stirred the drink, the man who was in awe of his own magnitude. Wouldn't have had that magnitude if he hadn't come through, and through again, and through again on the biggest night of his baseball life.
It's in the books what he did. There's no point for him to prove anymore. He said they'd say this or that about me. He said, but it's in the books.
You may love him, you may not, but you can't ignore him. Reggie Jackson has made a tremendous impression on the game of baseball.
I wouldn't take anything back. I absolutely was owning who I was. You asked me a question, and I did my best to give you a good, honest answer.
I came to win, and I came to hit home runs, and to drive in runs, and to be the best.
I played for the respect of Mays and Mantle, Koufax and Gibson and Frank Robinson, and those players that when they looked at you, they'd say, Reggie Jackson, you know, he's a pretty good player.